The last group of living Israeli hostages slated for release during the initial 6-week Gaza ceasefire have now been handed over by Hamas. The return of the 6 men has prompted Israeli authorities to free more than 600 Palestinians, all held in the country's jails.
Hamas is criticising Israel for delaying those releases. Middle East correspondent Matthew Doran is in Jerusalem.
3 days ago, there was an outpouring of grief here in Israel as the bodies of 4 dead hostages were returned home. That feeling is still palpable right across the country, albeit tempered by relief, with 6 living Israeli hostages freed on Saturday. First, Tal Shoam and Avira Mengistu were handed over in Rafah in Gaza's south. Avira Mengistu has a history of mental illness and was held longer than the others released on Saturday after crossing into Gaza in 2014. The reunion with his family more than a decade in the making. Hours later in Nuseirat, central Gaza, another 3 hostages handed over. Ilya Cohen, Omer Shemtov and Omer Venkert, all abducted from the Nova Music Festival on October 7, 2023 and released together. Their loved ones overcome with emotion watching their return live on TV. The 6th and final hostage, Hisham El-Sayed, presented to the Red Cross away from the crowds, held since 2015 after also crossing into Gaza. The men flown to hospital, one chopper flying over the crowds in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. Omer Venkert overwhelmed at the support as he arrived for medical checks. Those joyous scenes come as the nation continues to mourn. The memory of the 4 dead Israeli hostages returned last week, still at the front of many people's minds. In particular, the Bibas family, mother Shiri and children Ariel and Kafir. Israel says forensic tests show no evidence to back up Hamas's claims they were killed in an Israeli airstrike, insisting the children were murdered. Hamas rejecting those accusations. Yarden Bibas, the only member of the family left behind, is thanking the community for their support, but is asking for details about his wife and children's deaths not to be discussed. Israel says it's paying a heavy price for the return of its hostages, releasing more than 600 Palestinians held in the nation's jails today in exchange. Among them, 51 serving life sentences, one of whom is Nail Barghouti, who has spent the most time of a Palestinian prisoner behind bars at 45 years, convicted of attacking and killing Israelis. Also in this group being freed, more than 440 detained in Gaza since the start of the war. 24 of them are women and children. Palestinians will say that many of this group are political prisoners and are worthy of being freed. The only way that more Israeli hostages will return home, living and dead, is if the ceasefire is extended beyond its current expiry on the 2nd of March. Those talks are ongoing. Many Israelis hopeful that they will be successful. Palestinians too, with hundreds of thousands of lives in Gaza at risk if the fighting resumes.